episode of John's Motorcycle Rescue and Review. Today I've got another great back-to-back ride comparison for you. Today it is two classic Japanese cruisers. These are both big bore cruisers, and the first bike up here is Yamaha's 1980 XS1100 Special. This bike is a newer bike to the garage here, and so I'm going through and I'm comparing this to the other Japanese big bore cruisers that I have in the garage currently. Second bike up here is one, if you've watched this channel before, it's a familiar bike. It's Kawasaki's CSR 1000. On paper, these bikes are both very similar. They both have big, air-cooled, 2-valve per cylinder, 4-cylinder motors. They both have the dual disc brakes up front with the big single piston calipers. They both have air assist front suspension and the conventional spring units in the back for the rear suspension. Each of these bikes has a big single disc brake in the rear for rear braking. Some of the differences between these two bikes are that the Kawasaki has the spoked wheels and chain drive, and the Yamaha has the mag wheels and the shaft drive. Both of these bikes have the traditional cruiser styling with a more rounded tank. They've got a lot of shiny paint and chrome. I have put an MGO Magna wide handlebar on each of these bikes, and that really has transformed the handling on the bikes. They handle much better, and they're a lot more comfortable at speed due to the mild lean into the wind that you have. Each of these bikes has a 5-speed transmission, and each of these bikes redlines right around 8,500 RPM. Yamaha's XS1100 Special was really based on their XS1100 touring bike or sport touring bike, and the XS1100 Special really retains that touring flavor. Kawasaki CSR 1000 really shares a lot of heritage with their sport bikes, the KZ1000J and the GPZ models, and when you ride it you can really tell, all right, enough talk. What are these bikes like to ride and drive? What are they like out on the open road? Well, I'm going to gear up. I'll bring the camera along. Let's find out together. Let's ride.
I am currently riding Kawasaki's 1981 KZ1000 CSR, and I'm riding this bike back to back with Yamaha's mighty XS1100 Special. And it is really interesting the difference in character between these two bikes. This bike is definitely more vibey. It has more vibration through the handlebar, more vibration through the seat. It's revving right around 4,000 RPM at 60 miles an hour. The seating position on both of these bikes is extremely comfortable, and I would say the position, even though they're running the same handlebar, the position on this Kawasaki is a little bit more compact. I sit a little bit more upright on it. And this motor definitely has an eagerness to rev and an eagerness to pull, and anytime you want to hit it, it just leaps. on the Yamaha, you can definitely tell that the XS1100 was descended from a tourer. This Kawasaki is definitely descended from a sport bike. That motor really comes on strong above 5,000 RPM. There's definitely a hit in the power, and it is a very nimble bike. The brakes are nice. It has the same brakes as Kawasaki sport bikes. And there's just an eagerness to this bike that few of my other cruisers can match. It really does have a hooligan nature to it. Yow. Kawasaki at this time did not have a shaft drive cruiser. And so they were still competing in the cruiser market, the big bore market, with chain drive bikes like the LTD and the CSR. And the only difference between those two bikes is that the CSR has the spoked wheels. I think CSR just stands for cruiser with spoked wheels. But this thing is a hoot to ride. I am currently riding Yamaha's beautiful 1980 XS1100 Special, and I am riding this back to back with Kawasaki's 1981 CSR 1000. And man, I am struck instantly by the high level of comfort on this bike, by the level of smoothness on this bike as well. This bike just fits my taller frame better. It's not as compact as the CSR, and it is so smooth. The seat is so much nicer, and I have room to move around as well. I'm not as locked into place with this XS1100 seat. After riding the CSR 1000 for half an hour, I was really getting fatigued because of the somewhat cramped, for me, seating position, and the fact that I could not move around in the seat at all, and the additional engine vibration as well, and the somewhat abruptness of the throttle. Even though I was fatigued a few minutes ago, I am ready to hit the open road now. I also feel more isolated from the road on this bike as well. I don't feel every little vibration of the road. It's a very smooth ride. And even the way this bike picks up throttle, I have to give it a little bit more juice, more turn on the throttle to get it to go. But that's nice because I don't have any bump-induced throttle input. And it's just smoother and more relaxing to ride. The Yamaha is more stable through sweepers. Just gently glides through them. bike just has a magic carpet ride. The transmission on this bike is occasionally notchy going through the gears, and it just doesn't give me quite the confidence of the Kawasaki unit. And it definitely likes very crisp shifts and very deliberate shifts. Otherwise you can just get, feels a little bit grindy going into gear sometimes between the gears. Of these two bikes, the XS1100 is definitely the bike that I would take if I were going to put some more miles on in a day. Anything over about a half an hour drive, and this Yamaha is simply the clear winner in this contest. The Kawasaki would definitely have the edge on a tight, scratchy back road. The brakes on the Kawasaki offer better feel and better control. So those two areas, it definitely has an advantage. It's also going to be an easier bike to manage for a shorter rider. And the ergonomics on that bike will fit a shorter rider better than this bike. The Yamaha is actually geared a little bit lower than the Kawasaki is at 4,000 RPM. The Yamaha is doing 57 miles an hour, whereas the Kawasaki is doing 60 miles an hour at that same RPM. But they're close, and you would expect them to feel similarly on and off throttle, but the Yamaha is much smoother on and off throttle. And it has just an electric smooth throttle take up. As you dial it in, it just smoothly comes on power and really pulls nicely. I've been riding this Yamaha for a little bit over half an hour now, and I am still ready to keep riding. The seat feels as comfortable as it did when I sat on it. It's not sacked out at all. I'm not cramped at all, my legs aren't cramped, and this seat is flat enough that I can move around, and I really enjoy riding on this bike.
All right, man, what a lot of fun. That was a real eye-opener to drive these two bikes back to back and just feel the difference in personality between the two. If you're looking for a hooligan bike, something to just rip around on, and something that's just a hoot to drive, and you're not really going to be doing longer trips, man, this Kawasaki is just hard to beat. I have a 4-in-1 Delcovic pipe on it. It sounds amazing. It pulls amazingly well from the bottom of the rev range up to the top, and it really pulls very hard from 5,000 RPM all the way up to redline. Very entertaining bike to ride. It is very nimble and quick to transition in the corners. And with the upgrade to the handlebars, I've also upgraded to Spiegler steel braided brake lines, and the brakes are really nice, the handling's really nice, and the tighter the back road, the better. This thing is just a blast to ride. I'm 6'4". The seat kind of keeps me locked in one position. So when I first sit on the bike, everything is supremely comfortable. It's very neutral seating position, and I really enjoy it. Man, after a half hour, I feel like I am just locked in there. It's got softer seat foam on it than the Yamaha does, but that foam, I kind of sink to the bottom. I'm feeling some fatigue at about half an hour of driving this bike. It's also a little bit touchy on and off throttle, and it's not as stable at speed. And then I do get significantly more vibration through the seat and through the handlebars than I do on the Yamaha. And that brings us to the Yamaha XS1100 Special. Every once in a while I ride a bike that really does surprise me. I'll be honest, I was not expecting to like this bike as much as I do like it. I have seen these for sale before and kind of passed them up, but I love the smoothness of this motor. I love the comfort of this seat. The seating position on this bike with the lower bars has transformed it and made it a bike that is all-day comfortable for me. It's a bike that's comfortable doing highway speeds, it's comfortable on back roads, and again, it's that smoothness. The throttle take up on it is extremely smooth as well. There's not a ton of driveline lash, and it just really is a nice place to ride, and it's a relaxing bike to ride and a non-fatiguing bike to ride. It's the kind of bike when I get on it, I just want to go for hours. I'm perfectly comfortable on it, and the character of it really makes it a nice place to be. Motor-wise, these both have really entertaining power plants. This XS1100 motor is just a torque monster. It's the smoothest 4-cylinder that I've ridden. The transmissions on these bikes are both pretty good. They both like quick, sharp shifts. I've also upgraded the brake lines on the Yamaha to the Spiegler steel braided units. It definitely has ultimate stopping power. It definitely stops hard, but it does not have the brake lever feel that the Kawasaki has. Suspension wise, both of these bikes ride really nicely, but this Yamaha just has a magic carpet ride to it. Instrumentation wise, the Kawasaki does have a fuel gauge, and that's an advantage over the Yamaha. I like that. If I had to pick a winner here, I would say the Yamaha is the bike that makes me want to get out and ride. It suits my personality better. I enjoy riding it. And the Kawasaki is a whole lot of fun, but it's short-term fun. And for me, I'm just feeling fatigued after half an hour. That's just not a long-term comfortable bike. Smaller riders may find the Kawasaki to be more comfortable. Riders with shorter arms also may find the Kawasaki more comfortable. I'm not saying that the Kawasaki is less of a nice bike. The Yamaha fits me better, and it fits a style of riding that I like to do better. Well, I'd love to know what you guys think. If there are any Kawasaki CSR 1000 fans out there, I'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. Likewise, if there are any Yamaha XS1100 fans out there, I'd love to hear from you guys as well. As always, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative, and until next time, enjoy the ride.